He's the head coach of my Dallas Mavericks. He's Rick Carlisle, joining us, Continental Tire Coach's Corner. Good morning, Rick. How's your shot right now?
My shot is well, Dan. How about you? How about your shot?
It's good. It's good. You know what? I'm obsessed with perfecting it. Even at my age, I'm still looking for the perfect shot.
Yeah, you should watch Dirk Nowitzki's documentary. It's called Nowitzki Der Perfect Wurf, which means Nowitzki the perfect shot. It's very interesting.
Do you think that's the best shot you've ever seen? Perfect shot?
Well, the numbers don't lie on that one. I mean, the guy scored 32,000 points, and he probably scored 2/3 of them on jump shots. So I got to, and a lot of those shots were contested. So I got to believe if it isn't the greatest, it's certainly one of the greatest.
Yeah, because I love having this discussion because there are a lot of great shooters in the history of the game. But if you were going to teach somebody the perfect jump shot, and I look at Ray Allen, Klay Thompson, if I take away Dirk, whose shot would you say, I want you to study that, that's the perfect shot?
Wow. I think there's about 3 or 4 guys you could just kind of equally look at. Klay Thompson, Steph Curry. Reggie Miller was one of the greatest shooters of all time, but he had a little bit of an unusual release. Larry Bird, was one of the great shooters ever. And I know I'm missing some guys, but hey, it's a great discussion for sure.
Well, also now I look at the Greek Freak. He's adding that 3-point shot to his repertoire. It's not going to be fair if he becomes a knockdown 3-point shooter, Rick. It may not be fair now.
Yeah, I agree with that. One of the things I do on the road is, I go out and watch teams warm up early, just watch, kind of some of the routines and just try to get a feel for what's going on out there. And, I saw Giannis out there before the game 3 nights ago working on the 3, and he made about 8 or 9 out of 10. And I was just shaking my head and covering my eyes going, oh, no, And then he hit the first one he took that night.
Yeah.
And then he missed a few. So, we got a little lucky there. But, with his ability to kind of create downhill situations and Euro step and avoid charges and get contact, and now he's making free throws consistently. Man, oh man, what a player!
He also referred to LeBron. They play tonight as an alien. Is there anything LeBron could do where you would say he's now the best player who ever played the game?
Oh gosh, these debates and discussions, they turn and work the media cycles, as we all know, and I understand why you're talking about it. I will never engage in any of those absolute conversations because, as time goes on, you get into more of these discussions, and I found this over the last couple of years, because we had Dirk here, and Dirk I was always being asked about where he is on the total scale of greatness and great players and stuff like this. And and who are the top 5 ever? And then you get people get into these discussions and you don't even hear Bill Russell's name or Will Chamberlain's name. It's crazy. And so I don't know, and LeBron is definitely in the top tier. There's no question about that. But who do you disclude from the top tier? And I'm not going there. I'm just not going to do it.
If somebody didn't see Larry Bird play and you were describing him in his prime, how would you describe him?
The ultimate winner. The guy. He was a guy that had an iron will to win, and his moods were only geared toward winning and losing. And the other guy that I've been around a lot who was very, very much like that was Jason Kidd. He just, winning was the most important thing. He didn't care about stats at all. If you look at Bird's stats for his career, they're spectacular compared to a lot of players, but the thing that stands out the most is, he was a 2 or 3 time MVP. He was a multiple Finals MVP. And then you look at the other things. He was a Rookie of the Year. You look at the other things he did. He became NBA Coach of the Year. He became NBA Executive of the Year. I believe if you look at all of those different honors, and you look at First Team All NBA, and you look at All-Star appearances, and winner of the 3-point contest in its initial stages, I don't think you'll find a more decorated person in NBA history than Larry Bird. He's done it all. And
he was pretty good at trash talking.
He was one of the very best. Yes.
What's the best one you heard with Bird?
I don't remember which year it was, but he and Ainge, I think, were both in the 3-point contest together. Yeah. And Larry won the contest, and then one day we got on the bus, and we were on the bus for a few minutes, and Larry said to Ainge, he goes, "Hey, Danny," and Danny goes, "Yeah, Larry." He goes, "Who's the 3-point king?" it's like stuff like that, and I can't really do justice to the exchange, but it was, it's just. And when you get into the great players of all time and trash talking and innuendo and context of stuff, I mean, you're going to come up with some great one-liners, across the board, with all these guys.
I still love the Xavier McDaniel story. And I don't think you were with the Celtics at the time, but he told X-Man.
I was with him.
Okay.
I was with him.
So that's a true story, right? He says to X, I'm going to get the ball right here. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to shoot the right in your face. Basically, am I paraphrasing here, Larry?
No, that's exactly what happened. And one of the reasons I remember it so well is it's one of the few games I actually played in my NBA career. So I had a little bit more of an exacting memory of it. But we were in Seattle, end of a road trip. We actually got way behind. Casey Jones threw a bunch of us in there, and we got hot and got the game within a possession or two, and then. The starters went back in, and I think it was tied or we were down 1. I don't remember exactly which, but Larry came in. Larry walked onto the floor and he said, "Hey X," he goes, "I'm gonna get the ball right over there. I'm gonna shoot over. There's nothing you can do about it."
And he got it and shot it and made it.
Yeah.
He's Rick Carlisle, the Mavs head coach, joining us. First time you saw Luka Doncic on film. What did you think?
Well, I thought this guy is really skilled. He's very unique. Again, I use the word context. The context of the film, it was hard to tell everything about him because of the level of competition he was at, which wasn't NBA competition. It was high level European competition. He was playing a lot of point guard, but not all point guard. And this is an ongoing discussion. How this guy ever slide to the third pick?
I know.
And my general manager's the only guy that had consistently told me, going back probably 2 years now, that as we headed toward the 2018 draft, and this is Donnie Nelson. I said, look, who's the best player? Because we were still in a rebuilding mode. We were not going to have a great record. This was going to be a discussion. He said, "Doncic is." He goes, "And it's not close." I said, "Really? Okay." And as it turned out, he was absolutely right.
But then he goes to Cuban and says, "Hey, we got to make this trade. We got to get this guy."
Well, there was a window of opportunity right before the draft started. Atlanta was willing to swap picks, assuming that our guy was there at 3 and their guy was there at 5, and so we made the deal. And I think we're ecstatic about the deal. They got an extra pick out of it, and I think they're very happy. With where they're at too. I can't speak to how they feel about Doncic in particular, but when you do deals with teams, you always want to do well on the deal. But the best deals are when they're good deals for both teams.
You're also looking at a situation where I don't know how much it helped him. If he had played college, let's say he played at Duke for 1 year, would he be as advanced as he is now because he played against this European competition for, 3 or 4 years prior to joining the NBA?
Well, it's a hard question. I think the real answer is that, had he come out of, the systems over there are so different, Dan, because the kids start playing with club teams at age 13, 14, and it's a question or matter of which level of the club system you're at. He was signed to Real Madrid at a very young age, like 13, 14 or something like that, and he was with them for several years. And once you get in that system, I mean, there's no real situation where you drop out of it and go to college. I mean, in almost all cases. And so, had he, when he was of college age, done that, I don't know if he would have been eligible for college because he'd already been playing professional. So it's probably more of a moot discussion. But had he gone to had he been in the American system and gone to high school and then gone to college, it's very, very hard to say because, those 3 or 4 years that he spent with Real Madrid, he wasn't playing a whole lot, but he was playing with some of the great players in Europe at the time, a few of the greatest players in European history. He was playing against those guys every day. It was a very, very serious, winning, professional situation, and that really prepared him for NBA basketball.
Social media and the impact that it has on the game now. You obviously didn't have that when you guys were playing, but is social media is it going to put more pressure on Luka? He's got millions of followers here. So does that play a role at all, or are you aware of that as a head coach?
Well, I'm aware just from the standpoint that, I know he has 3 million Instagram followers. And I know that his followers, love watching him. They love watching highlights. They love watching step back threes. And, all that said, you do the math and you do the calculation. It creates a lot of demand for him to generate highlights and to do those kinds of things. Fortunately for us, he doesn't have to go out of the norm very much. I mean, he just kind of plays that kind of game anyway. But it is a different world now. Everything happens, really in real time. If we pretend that that's not how the world's working, we're fooling ourselves. And so this all factors into the equation for today's young players. And, I'm always, adapting to, the changing environment in the world of basketball. You always, as a coach, you always try to stay ahead of it as much as you can. But, sometimes you simply got to absorb and adapt. And, it's such a different world now, but it's very, very exciting because the game has never been more exciting, and we've got some young players that are just, so dynamic, obviously Doncic included.
I used to say this about Brett Favre. It felt like he needed degree of difficulty. Like, sometimes the game comes to you a little too easy. And I wonder about with Doncic if it comes too easy and then you get bored to a certain degree, and you want to try new things there. Do you caution him with that, or is that something that I'm sort of pulling out of the sky?
No, it's a factor, and this was something that happened with Bird, on the floor. He just, and look, our Boston teams when I was on the team and during the 85, 86, 87. they were dominant teams. They were 60-plus win teams. There were a lot of nights where you were just simply going to win the game because you had more talent and you had guys that were really geared toward winning, and Larry would go into a creative mode a lot of times just because he did get a little bored, and it's something that happens with great players. I mean, and it's something that happens with Luka, and I have talked to him about it. I acknowledge it, and I also acknowledge that he is an artist on the floor. He is a performer on the floor, and the thing that I'm always reminding him is that he is an artist, but he's paid to win, and he is paid to entertain. But ultimately, winning is the most important thing. But as a 20-year-old guy, he understands that. He really does, and his moods, like Larry Bird's, like Jason Kidd's, are far more influenced by winning and losing than anything else, and that's a really exciting fact.
Didn't Bird shoot left-handed for an entire game against Portland?
Well, it didn't quite go like that.
Okay.
I think I remember because I was there, and it was at a time when McHale was still coming off the bench, and so he scored the first 8 points of the game left-handed, and Jerome Kersey was guarding him at the time, and I remember this because we had a great trash-talking team. I mean, we had ML Carr, we had McHale, we had Bird, we had Ainge was a yacker. I mean, we had guys with great creativity with that, and I'll never forget it. McHale yells out, "Hey, Jerome, wait till you start shooting right-handed." I mean, but look, you're talking about one of the great, obviously great players, great competitors. But Bird was a great artist too, and I think LeBron James is that. Kobe Bryant was an amazing artist on the floor. Doncic is certainly one of those guys as a great young player. There's a lot of them. I mean, look, Trae Young is a great young talent. He does some amazing things out there. You look at what Harden's doing. I mean, you could just go right down the list, and the NBA is so blessed.
It's great to talk to you, Rick. We appreciate your time. Love the stories, and thank you for joining us.
All right, Dan. It's my pleasure. Take care.
That's Rick Carlisle.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.